With the summer months coming up, this question comes up. What if my child leaves the state for the summer to spend time with other relatives? How do we get them registered? As always, the earlier you register, the better. You may submit your player cheerleader registration form with the appropriate documents and payment by mail. That is during initial registration. If they were registered for the year before, you do not mail the birth certificate because NMYAFL will not be responsible for any lost items in the mail. If you will be gone at the start of practice, it is your responsibility to notify your coach before you leave or immediately upon your return. Please understand your child will be required to meet the same requirements as I talked about previously of no contact during his initial days of practice. And how that breaks down is the first 3 days your young men are in shorts, t-shirt, and helmet. There is no physical contact during the first 3 days of practice. On the 4th day, during that first week, he is allowed to put on his full gear, but there is no contact at that particular point. The 5th day, we are allowed to have full contact. And in the context of what I'm saying is if you are out of town and you miss those first 4 days, when you come back, the young man needs to go through that period. He cannot skip and go directly into contact with his team. And overall, missing practice will hinder significantly his growth and his development as a player. What if my son or daughter gets hurt? Who pays for it? Who's liable? Your primary health insurance has accident coverage. If you don't have accident coverage, New Mexico NMYAFL carries excess accident insurance on all participants and coaches or volunteers. There is a deductible, and you're required to fill immediately a claim if you have no personal insurance. Now, we did adopt a new rule this year, and each player shall sign a release which is downloaded on our website or obtained from our league office. Please see that you let your coach or ask your coach about these details. Since if your child is injured and you haven't signed the required release, your deductible is $2,500, and with the signature, it's $0. So please talk to your head coach about it. Talk to someone down at the league office, and please, for your sake and the safety of your child, so he can get a medical attention, that you do sign that release. Being in New Mexico, weather changes every 5 minutes, especially during the months that we start football, it seems like. What happens in case of inclement weather? It is your head coach's sole responsibility to postpone or cancel practice in the case of lightning. The City Parks and Recreation Department will, on occasion, cancel it for us, or practice or games for us, if they feel the fields are too wet from rain, since practicing can be unsafe. We all abide by New Mexico athletic rules with the 30-second call on the lightning. But ultimately, that is the head coach's responsibility. He will contact you in most cases prior enough time that you don't drive all down to practice. But NMYAFL is very insistent upon we are conscious of our surroundings and the weather. My child has a lot of activities. Is it a problem if he or she misses some practices and some games? Once again, this is one of these responsibilities, and we kind of put it in a category of, accountability. But if you know your child will miss some practices and or games, it is your responsibility to notify your head coach as soon as possible to work out an equitable agreement between you and the coach. Keep in mind that the league does allow a coach to withhold playing time for reasons of disciplinary safety issues if a player misses practice during the week prior to a game. Practice, practice, practice. Practice time is critical at any age. Due to safety concerns, most coaches will reduce playing time for missed practices, and it is rare, however, that a good coach will penalize a player for an occasional absence due to serious schools concerns. So what we're talking about is common sense things. Johnny just doesn't want to go to practice today. That is something that you need to work out and understand, because as I spoke before, most coaches will have a parent and player contract, and practice is number one on there. The key to it is communication with yourself and the head coach. Are the coaches paid employees of New Mexico YAFL? No. No football or cheer coach are paid. Nor are they allowed to receive financial benefit for coaching. As I stated before, the league does have 3 paid employees, and they may or may not coach. This is a concern for dads and moms. Is tackle football too rough for my child? Tackle football is unlike any other team sport your son or daughter has participated in. It is by nature a rough, violent collision sport. There is significant amount of data, however, that shows that there are fewer serious injuries in youth tackle football than there is in youth soccer, basketball, ice hockey, and baseball per capita. One of the reasons for these findings is that our players will be wearing all standard protective equipment. Keep in mind that a few first-year players may be somewhat tentative about the amount of full contact involved, but are often pleasantly surprised when they realize that the equipment really does protect them. Ultimately, however, only you and your player can determine if football is too rough a sport for him and her. And everyone involved with YAFL will repeatedly say it may not be for your son or daughter, and there is nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. We highly encourage players to train to play football, and that goes back to the practice issues. We should all accept that football, nor any other aggressive athletic sport, is for all kids. Our league is about teaching, educating each child in the physical activity, and we do carry on very competitive games. But ultimately, it will be between you and your child to decide if football is something they wish to play.